The story of my experiment with truth, an autobiography by M.K. Gandhi, the father of the nation, translated from the original in Gujarati by Mahadev Desai. So, in the foreword of this book, what is written is throughout the world, almost all nations will be celebrating from October 2 this year the birth centenary of Mahatma Gandhi, who is now universally recognized as the glorious symbol of truth and nonviolence. Gandhiji was not only a great national leader who liberated India from foreign domination through a peaceful and bloodless struggle, but also a profound thinker who placed before the world certain eternal principles for the guidance of human relationship and international behavior. He laid the greatest stress on the purity of the means for the achievement of noble ends. The means may be likened to a seed, the end to a tree, and there is thus the same inviolable connection between the means and the end as there is between the seed and the tree. The Mahatma never compromised his adherence to this ideal, even for the attainment of Swaraj for India. He was convinced beyond any shadow of doubt that this method of righteousness was ultimately the shortest, although it may appear to be long, perhaps too long. To Gandhiji, civilization is the real sense of the term consisted not in the multiplication, but in the deliberate and voluntary restriction of wants. He always upheld the sublime aim of simple living and high thinking, while he strained every nerve to provide gainful employment to the hungry millions of India through various constructive activities. He underscored the imperative need for raising the standard of life of the people, including the ethical and moral aspect. To him, mere affluence and accumulation of material wealth was a primrose part, leading to social, economic, and cultural disintegration. True economics, affirmed Gandhiji, never militates against the highest ethical standard. An economics that inculcates mammoth worship and enables the strong to amass wealth at the expense of the weak is a false and dismal science. At a time when a number of developed countries are faced with this tragedy of mere affluence, it would be worth our while recollecting Mahatma Gandhi's insistence on higher values for the establishment of a new world order, as a recent editorial in the New Statesman caption, "Not by bread alone," stated. There is evidently a hunger in the world for government which are activated by moral principles, which take decisions not because they are expedient, but because they are right. There is an erroneous notion that Gandhiji was against the use of modern science and technology and favored outdated techniques for some spiritual or sentimental reason. "I would prize every invention made for the benefit of all," remarked Gandhiji. "Mechanization is good when the hands are too few for the work intended to be accomplished. It is an evil when there are more hands than required for the work, as in the case in India. Gandhiji was thus not against machinery as such, but objected to the craze for machinery, and not against machinery as such, but objected to the craze for machinery and its indiscriminate multiplication. In place of mass production, he advocated the system of production by the masses. He clearly envisaged that in a developing country like India, with scarce capital and abundant labor, the physical energies of the masses could be converted into a vast constructive force under a democratic framework, which Professor Mumford, in a somewhat different context, termed a mega machine. We have to realize without equivocation that the pursuit of material prosperity alone would land us into a blind alley. The modern industrial organization given birth to a few giant business corporations, which tend to reduce the state to a subservient position and bind it to what Professor Galbraith calls a technostructure consisting of specialist planners and technicians. In order to avoid the perils of such an industrial system, American economists recommend the strong assertion of other goals, so that the new industrial state would become responsive to the larger purpose of the society. These goals could doubtless be essentially human and spiritual in accordance with Gandhiji's ideals and programs. Mahatma Gandhi was deeply concerned with the welfare of the underprivileged classes in India as well as in other countries, while striving to promote the good of all in a servo-dayal society. He directed his first care and attention to the needs of the poorest and the lowest. Ruskin maxim of "unto this last" was a source of deep inspiration for his life and work. It was this human approach which made Gandhiji an uncompromising crusader against racialism and colonialism. He gave us an unfailing talisman for right action. Whenever you are in doubt, or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following tests. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man whom you may have seen and ask yourself if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him. Then you will find your doubt and self melting away. Gandhiji was a firm believer in the democratic way of life. He maintained that true democracy could be evolved only through non-violence and spontaneous cooperation. Spirit of democracy cannot be imposed from without. It has to come from within. He envisioned a world federation raised on the foundation of integrity and mutual respect in international affairs. While he labored ceaselessly for India's freedom and renaissance, he was adverse to isolated independence. He wanted each nation to imbibe the good qualities of others without losing her own soul or genius. To quote his own classical expression, "I do not want my house to be walled in or all sides," and my expression, "I do not want my house to be walled in or all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet by any." It is therefore quite appropriate that we should suitably celebrate the birth centenary of one who had lived every minute of his life for the good of mankind and had highlighted some basic principles as guidelines for humanity. In the inimitable word of Pandit Nehru, the light that has illuminated this country for these many years will illuminate this country for many more years. And 1,000 years later, that light will still be seen in this country, and the world will see it, and it will give solace to innumerable hearts. For that light represented something more than the immediate present. It represented the living, eternal truth, reminding us of the right path, drawing us from the error. And as Dr. Albert Einstein had feelingly observed, generations to come, it may be, will scarce believe that such a one as this ever, in flesh and blood, walked upon this earth. As part of the Gandhi centenary celebration, the Navajivan Trust, which was founded by Mahatma Gandhi himself half a century ago, had decided to publish the selected work of Mahatma Gandhi in 5 volumes so that the message of truth and compassion could be conveyed once again to millions of people in India and abroad. As the general editor of these volumes, I have tried to make a representative selection of all the writings of the Mahatma, which are of permanent value and have a universal appeal. The first 2 volumes cover its autobiography, which we call The Story of My Experiments with Truth. The third volume of the series is Satyagraha in South Africa. In the fourth volume, I have collected most of the basic works of Gandhiji, including Ethical Religion, Unto This Last, Hind Swaraj, From Yeravada Mandir, Constructive Program and Key to Health. The fifth volume contains a rich selection of letters which are either of historical interest or contain notable ideas on a variety of important subjects. Sixth volume incorporates all the essential ideas of Mahatma Gandhi on philosophy, religion, culture, economics, politics, sociology, and education. I earnestly hope that this selected work will be found useful by all those who are keenly interested in the study of Gandhian thought on different aspects of life. I take this opportunity of thanking the Navajivan Trust for giving me the privilege of placing these volumes in the hand of a large number of readers within India and outside. I am grateful to Sri H. M. Vyas, Dr. Raman Modi, and others who have actively helped me in editing this series. Raj Bhavan, Ahmedabad. Shriman Narayan.